Miramar Beach, Florida, with another Tuesdays with Maury Bible study. This thing should come on.
No, it's not coming on.
I'm testing this right now to make sure I can do it on this app. Let's see what happens here. It's not coming on. It won't come on, so I don't know if it's working or not. There it is. Okay.
Okay, it works.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Fantastic.
All right, Teresa, I'm gonna.
Okay, we're gonna
say goodbye to you. Well, I'll leave you listening, okay?
I was just letting off steam.
Yeah, that's all right. No, I'm gonna let you listen now, okay?
Good evening, everyone. This is Pastor Maury Shapiro, live from Miramar Beach, Florida, another Tuesdays with Maury Bible study. Hopefully, we've got this video down. We've been struggling a little bit. Our internet's not working correctly, but I have new equipment, and it should work well. So we're going to continue our study on King David. And if you want to go back and listen to past episodes, you can go on Facebook under my site or go to YouTube, Maury Shapiro. So we have studied about David's heart, David's faith, David's identity. And today we're going to talk about how he handles adversity. This is something we can all learn from. Now, David is being very successful in life. He was very successful as a shepherd. The Lord was looking down from heaven, searching for a person to be the next king, who was from the tribe of Judah, who the Messiah was going to come through. And he saw David as a shepherd boy. And Samuel anointed him. And when he was anointed, it says the Spirit of the Lord was upon him from that day on. So every single thing David did was successful. His first calling was to be a musician for King Saul. He was having tormenting spirits. And as he was a musician, he was successful. He drove out the spirits. Then he fought Goliath, and he killed Goliath. Then he was made the commander of the army. He married the king's daughter. And everything was going wonderful. Then all of a sudden, one day, Saul became very jealous. Just as the Lord is searching throughout the whole earth for people to serve him, Satan is searching throughout the whole earth to find somebody to serve him. And he wants to stop David, because David is from the tribe of Judah. The seed of David is going to bring forth the Messiah. And Satan loves to steal, kill, and destroy our identity and destiny. So he's going to use Saul as a vessel. And King Saul failed every test. You know, Jesus, when he was first called, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, and he learned three important lessons. That man has to live by God's word, that you shouldn't tempt the Lord, and you should worship the Lord and him only. Well, Saul didn't do any of the three, and anybody that doesn't do any of the three should not be in ministry. And this is the problem with a lot of ministry. A lot of people want their own kingdom, they tempt God, and they don't live according to the word. So these are tests that you have to pass. And David passed these tests with flying colors. So what happened next was David had all this successful experience, and all of a sudden he's playing worship music for King Saul to drive out the spirits, and Saul throws a spear at him trying to kill him. And this continues on. He tells Jonathan, we need to get rid of David. David's a threat to our family. Now, the people love David because he's successful. He's pretty famous killing Goliath. And so he probably was quite comfortable in his position. But things changed rapidly. So he was warned. First of all, he saw Saul try to kill him with a spear. Then he saw his best friend Jonathan, the king's son, warned him. And then when he married the king's daughter, she warned him. So the next thing you know, David was off and running. And this is what we really need to learn how to do in our lives. It's discerning what you are fighting. And in David's case, it was a very evil spirit from Saul, from King Saul. And there was only one answer, and most of us don't pray right away. We lean to our own understanding and we try to figure out what to do. So David is confronted with this situation where King Saul is going to try to kill him, and King Saul has a whole army coming after him. It's kind of like King Saul is a type of the devil, and he's got all these demons with him, and David is by himself. David, in his logic, in his own thinking, he feels the best place to go is to the prophets, the prophet Samuel. And you've got to understand, God spoke through the prophets in the Old Testament. All the kings had a prophet, and they would hear a word from the Lord if they were a true prophet. And Samuel was a true prophet. So it sounds like a very good idea to go to Samuel the prophet and get counsel. But all these spies are seeing him there, and so they send the army there. Then he thinks, well, maybe if I run to the priests. And it's kind of interesting. Each one of these episodes he's going through has a psalm written. Psalm 99 talks about when he runs to the prophet Samuel. Psalm 52 talks about when he runs to the priest. Psalm 34 talks about when he runs to the enemy. And Psalm 142 talks about the cave of Adullam, where he gets true wisdom. So, as we see this, as we see what's going on, David is trying, can you imagine when you're having a spiritual attack and you don't recognize it and you think it's just something, we're wrestling against flesh. We're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but about principalities and powers of the air. So we shouldn't be looking at the people. We should be looking at spirits. Now, David might have known how to fight a great warrior like Goliath, but he didn't at this time know how to fight the spirits. And there's only one way with God's help. So, as David is running, let's look at Psalm 59. This is telling exactly how he feels. David, the one thing we can really learn from David is he knew how to pour his heart out to God. And as he poured his heart out to God, this is where he got comfort. And he would usually sing. And, here he is. And he wrote these Psalms later on. And the interesting things about the Psalms is they're not in order. Ezra put the book of Psalms in order, his order. And he wrote one Psalm, and that was the first Psalm. But these Psalms are all over the place. I wish they would have been in order so we could see everything going on. But anyway, here's what David is going on in his heart. And what would go on in your heart if you were facing these difficulties where all of a sudden everything is going wonderful. Your whole identity is you're very successful, and all of a sudden you're told you have to leave tonight or you'll be killed. So you have to move quickly. And as you move quickly, you can't take much with you. So basically, when he went to Samuel the prophet, he was looking for a place to hide, and he was looking for good counsel. And when he went to the priests, he was trying to go to people. See, the priests offered the sacrifices. And in Hebrews 4:15, it talks about Jesus being the high priest. And it says, for we do not have a high priest who can't identify with our weaknesses, but has been tempted in all areas, but yet without sin. So let us boldly come to the throne of grace for mercy and grace in the time of our need. So this is what David is trying to do. He's looking to people. And there's nothing wrong with looking to people. He looked to his best friend, Jonathan. He looked to Samuel. And he looked to the priests. But sometimes in spiritual battles, you're going to get your answers from God. But it's discerning them. It's discerning these spiritual battles. See, if you don't know it's an evil spirit attacking you, then you become very perplexed. You don't understand what's going on. Now, there are times when God prunes us so we can bear more fruit. Sometimes it's God pruning us, and sometimes it's God disciplining us for wrong behavior. So you have to discern between the three. And also, when you're discerning, the way Satan attacks you is thoughts in your mind. So you have to learn how to stop those thoughts. He's going to look for some weakness in you, and he finds that weakness. He's not going to stop till you learn to overcome that situation. And I've told you clearly in the last few lessons, the way you overcome is, number one, you humble yourselves and pray, James 4:6-8. Number two, you submit yourself to God's will. Not my will, but your will be done.